Hello, my name is Creosticks and I decided to make a video about Dirt Rally 2.0, which is an absolutely superb rally game when it comes to the feel of driving, rally stages, and currently is likely the best in the business in that regard. And based on the driving feel alone, it is absolutely a good game. But there are a lot of choices and issues outside of the driving mechanics that overall make the game disappointing and largely in ways it didn't really need to be. Before I go into the problems I had, I want to emphasize the point that I love driving the stages in this game. The roads feel solid and detailed, and in my opinion the drive feel is ever so slightly more stable than in Dirt 4, but nonetheless this is a simulation rally and therefore appropriately difficult to master. The cars feel great to drive almost universally, and it's even very playable on a controller instead of a steering wheel in my opinion. So the core concept of car plus dirt rally stage and go are rock solid here and the best I've played maybe ever. It's hard to compare to the old PS2 era rally games, but this one is really good when it comes to the driving feel. But then let's talk about the stuff around that core driving concept. First off, I have to point out possibly the first thing that really jumps at you, their bullcrap DLC plan, or to be more precise, the bullcrap way they emphasize their DLC plan in the user interface. When you go to your career mode, they have these quote-unquote events there. When you click them, they bring out the text that you don't have the entitlement to play this deluxe event with their deluxe credits reward, because these events are locked behind a deluxe DLC pack that costs $30 or 27 euros. On top of this, there are also events that need a 2000cc car that you can click, and again you lack the same DLC entitlement. And in order to reach all the events you actually can play, you have to scroll over these middle finger DLC advertisement events. They are scattered in the middle of the line of events in the main screen of your career events, so the user interface is this cluttered middle finger jungle of event icons that only exist to tell you that you lack entitlement. This after paying full price 70 euros, that is roughly $80 at the current exchange rate for the standard game. Here in Europe, game prices didn't stick at 60, you see. A normal new game is 70 euros. So because I'm a huge fan of rally games, I bought this full price, and my reward is that Codemasters gives me the middle finger constantly every time I open my career mode, because I had the gall, the audacity to only pay full price for their game. A game that already is kind of thin on content to begin with. The amount of cars is okay, but only 6 areas with rally stages, 3 of which are already familiar from Dirt 4, is not exactly impressive, and there are no snow or ice levels on the standard full price edition. And I know Dirt 4 had randomly generated tracks, but 3 of the areas here, Spain, the United States and Australia, are the same areas as in Dirt 4. And the tracks here have the same turns and straights and hairpins, etc. as we saw in Dirt 4. They were just scrambled randomly back then, so they are mostly the same pieces of the tracks, but now the tracks are set in stone instead of being procedurally generated. All of this hits you immediately in the face with a game that's thin on content and rubs a DLC plan in your face at every moment of you playing the career mode in the worst possible FU kind of way to the customer. Codemasters, this DLC crap is bad, and you should feel bad. The added content of the DLC, new cars and new tracks and such, are par for the course in games, but the way it's integrated into the UI is the worst case of this I have ever seen. It makes the player feel that Codemasters is giving paying customers the finger for daring to only pay full price for their game instead of $30 more than that. On top of this, the custom races no longer give credits. In Dirt Rally 1, you could set up a custom championship with the desired area and amount of levels and such. In that game, those events also gave credits. In here, they don't, which smells of an economy decision related to that deluxe DLC with its deluxe credits rewards. It's not a free-to-play economy or anything, but nonetheless, that is the playbook this decision smelled of. For some reason, the single-player career mode is also always online, and the decision is just baffling. So, when you play single-player career events, you are at risk of being booted to the main menu because always online. It seems mostly stable, but I have had connection issues with this. But surely there's a really good reason for this. Like, maybe the leaderboards work really well. Yeah, about that. Watch what happens when one tries to scroll down those leaderboards. It just loses its mind and starts repeating the same numbers over and over again while I'm just pressing down. I have never ever had the leaderboard work correctly, and it does this every single time. So always online for no reason, and even the leaderboard is just broken and you can't even see the vast majority of the other times. Great. Speaking of times, I have an issue with how the game handles AI times. I'm fine with the game saying that an AI drove after me and beat my time in rally stages because it's what could happen in real life. That's fine to me here. But the rally cross times. Simply put, the AI cheats in the career mode. There are 4 qualifier races in Rallycross, and each one has 4 heats, and the overall standings are determined by the times each driver posts, not by the placing in the heats themselves. And what happens is that when you drive a heat, the other heats are simulated off-screen, and the AI times in those simulated heats are doctored. Off-screen, the AI is capable of driving very good times that oftentimes beat yours, but when those same AI drivers that supposedly drove those fast times are put in a heat with you to actually physically drive those times, they suddenly lose confidence and post times that are overall 12 to 15 seconds worse in 4-lap races. And this happens practically every time in the career mode. This also means that if you win your heat by the skin of your teeth, you are easily left into places like 11th or worse. This diminishes the feeling of winning for no reason, and you are beaten by AI times that are not only suspect, but very clearly simply cheaty, made up BS times that have nothing to do with how those AI drivers actually drive. Let's take a specific example. See how the AI driver from Sweden called F. Sjöberg has placed. In the first qualifier, he supposedly posted a time of 2:48 in Heat D, while I drove in Heat C. In the second qualifier, we drove in the same heat, and Sjöberg lost all self-confidence and posted a time of 3 minutes and change, roughly 12 seconds worse. In qualifier 3, we drove in different heats again, me in Heat D and Sjöberg in Heat A, where he supposedly posted a time of 2:48 again. In the fourth qualifier, we were in the same heat again, and Sjöberg finished dead last with a time of 3:02. Roughly 14 seconds worse. And I avoid physical contact in Rallycross if at all possible, and I did not cause those times to be what they are here. And this happens indeed practically every single time. So trying to chalk it up for just chance and luck just doesn't fly. It seems that in the free play custom mode this doesn't happen, only in the career mode. So it seems more like a feature than a bug. I don't mind losing, but I want to lose fair and square. Here the AI simply cheats in every event. Another weird choice to me has always been the shop from which you purchase cars. It works on a timer that counts down, and then the shop refreshes to have different cars than it did before. This includes both new and discounted damaged cars. In other words, if you want to buy a specific car that is not in the options available, your only option is to wait for hours to pass, then come back and check if it's there. And I ask why? Why in the world can we not just buy the car we want when we want? I can understand that damaged quote-unquote used cars rotate on a timer, but the new ones too? What happened to the simple concept of go to in-game shop to buy cars with your credits? Why does this need to be complicated with this timer system that exists only to deny you the option to buy whatever car at whatever time? This is such a strange choice because it's an added feature to the simple concept of a shop that only makes the concept of a shop worse. The same thing was in Dirt 4 and it was exactly as pointless then. Beyond these things, I have some small miscellaneous things that bug me a little. For example, in Dirt 4 there was the option for a female co-driver, which I found was easier to make out from the engine noises. The male co-driver voice here does a good job, but I'm still missing the option here. Also, some of the stages have dark areas during the day where it makes no sense to not have your headlights on. But they are always off because it's daytime, for some reason. And while the pace notes have been improved greatly from Dirt 4, adding things like flat lefts and rights kinks, and the game also tells you a few notes beforehand just as you're about to start the stage, I find that the pace note icons sometimes disappear from the screen too soon. So if you happen to pause the game at an unlucky spot, you'll be driving blind and the audio cues are already said long ago. You can adjust the pace note delay, but that then messes up their pace somewhere else and doesn't reliably fix the issue. While I also said I love the driving feel, there is something off with the asphalt of the rally stages, especially in Spain, where the feel has, in my opinion, improved from Dirt 4, but it still feels just a little weird. For me it feels sort of floaty, depending a bit from which car I used. A thing I also cannot overlook are that the graphics are glitchy and weird, at least on the Xbox One X. Don't get me wrong, the game overall is a pretty game, especially in this genre, but the environments suffer from pretty considerable pop-in. And the graphics have a lot of glitches to them, like flickering black rectangles during the driving, and the screen has some odd horizontal quick glitching as well that looks like screen tearing to me. All of these issues are frequent enough that they are a problem. It's not a deal breaker or anything by any means, and it doesn't happen in every stage, but it's pretty common and is genuinely pretty distracting when it happens. Also, there's this weird detail with the graphics of the ambulances. I don't speak Spanish, but I'm pretty sure they don't label the ambulances there backwards in mirror writing. Also, as a funny little detail, there's a somewhat rare graphical glitch where the wheel of a car can be going haywire well outside and in front of the car it's supposed to be in, and another one where the spring of a car just exists mostly outside the car. It's pretty funny, but rare enough to be more of a funny event than anything else. But even with all these issues, when I let loose and get better on my road to getting good and just driving rally wheels in the gravel, that feeling is superb, and for that alone the game deserves a lot of praise and I absolutely enjoy playing it. It's just that all these other things I mentioned are a combination of weird and disappointing. But on that positive note, I'm all done here. I hope this has been fun or informative to watch, and if it has, please do drop a like or even share or subscribe if you want to. And tell me in the comments section if you agree or disagree with anything I laid out here. And I will hopefully see you again next time.